Landlords are destroying their tenants' credit when the tenant doesn't pay rent. Some people are saying that's wrong. I'm saying it's a great idea. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it has to do with how landlords are using the lack of a rent payment to destroy a tenant's credit. Now, this is one of the things that I am 100% in agreement with, especially since a lot of these local jurisdictions are passing these laws that are forcing landlords to report rent payments to credit agencies. You know, I said when I saw these laws first being put into place, hey, this is going to turn out awful for the tenants, not for us. Okay, we're going to be just fine. You're going to make us jump through these extra hoops and submit all this stuff so that the tenant can have a better credit score. Well, the result actually will be a lot of tenants will end up with worse credit scores. Okay, so they are making things worse. They didn't realize that the negative side effects that this sort of thing would occur, and now they're complaining because landlords are doing exactly what they wanted. So hey, I'm just laughing. I'm just sitting here and laughing, and they're writing articles about what I was saying would happen. Anyway, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So first of all, do you think it's wrong for a landlord to put onto a tenant's credit history that they didn't pay the rent? I know that there are tenants who watch this. There are people who are anti-landlord who watch this, right? And I'm just curious what your opinions are and why do you believe that? Why do you think that a debt owed to a landlord should be treated differently than a debt owed to literally everyone else, okay? You don't pay the credit card company, they destroy your credit. You don't pay your auto loan, they destroy your credit. If you own a house and you don't pay it, they destroy your credit. Hey, even the utility company can hit you in your credit for debts owed. The cell phone company, I remember when I was getting my credit cleaned up the first time, I had an old unpaid debt to a cell phone company from when I was 14 years old and I had a pager, okay? And I had to pay that off, otherwise I would have had that hit on my credit history for darn near ever, okay? But I did. So if all these other people can hit your credit like that, why shouldn't the landlord be able to do it? Anyway, let me get into this article. It's coming from the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, this article is coming from the Wall Street Journal, and it says, landlords have a new hardball tactic, tanking your credit score. Disputes over rent are played out through negative marks on credit reports rather than in the courts. Let's get into it. Landlords are turning to a hardball tactic to go after their tenants in rent disputes, tanking their credit scores. When David Murray moved out of his St. Louis apartment 2 months early, he thought he had settled up by giving notice. So when he received a bill for $4,500 for 2 months' rent plus penalties, he assumed there was a mistake. Then his credit score fell from a near perfect 815 to a low of 630. The landlord had hired a debt collector to go after the alleged arrears. The collection agency didn't harass or sue him. It filed a claim with the credit bureaus. I asked them to please take me to small claims court, and they've never contacted me, he said. Landlords say targeting credit scores with the help of debt collectors has proven more efficient than endless phone calls or drawn-out legal battles. Rental debt is now one of the most common topics of complaints related to debt collection, according to Consumer Financial Protection Bureau data. And you know what? I would agree, okay? For the majority of people, we want to have the best credit score possible so that we can get future credit. You know, we can get loans so that we can make purchases like cars, houses, etc. Okay? That's the majority of people. Now, I've dealt with lower income tenants the entire time I've been a landlord. And they don't care. They don't give one crap about you hitting their credit score, okay? So it certainly depends. It certainly depends when it comes to if this tactic is worth it. Because when it comes to my tenants in particular, a lot of my tenants, not all of them, some of my tenants are, you know, they're very good tenants. They worry more about their credit score than a lot of the lower income tenants do, right? But when you're dealing with bottom of the barrel housing, like I owned a bunch of lower income duplexes in Independence, Missouri, and I was renting to Section 8 tenants and very low income tenants there. And these people, when you're renting to them, they already have bad credit scores. But you know what? If you try to hit their credit score even worse, they just don't care. They're just like, hey, you know what? I already couldn't get a loan, so who cares, you know? And now I don't rent to people with, you know, a lack of good payment history when it comes to rent, but I do rent to people with subpar credit scores. So, you know, it's truly a question of, does your tenant, is this something that is important to them? And if they are late on their rent, do you think that this is the best way to go about getting your money? Now, me personally, yeah, I do. I think it's a good way, you know, stack every possible method against them. Now, in the case of this person in the story, I believe what his mistake was is he moved out in the middle of his lease. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They didn't say that in this article, right? But I think, let me scroll back up to the top of the article, because he says that he thought he had settled up by giving notice and he left his apartment 2 months early. Okay? Now, me personally, as a small landlord, I might make an exception for that. Okay? But if you're dealing with these larger landlords, they do not make exceptions very often. They have a strict set of rules they abide by, and if you want out of your lease, you either wait until the end of your lease term or you pay those months. Okay, some of them, they have like a penalty that you can pay that's a little bit less than the amount, but it's still, you're going to be coming out of pocket some money. Okay, and I think that this guy, he screwed himself. You know, if possible, and you're a tenant, you should just wait the full 12 months. If not, and you have to leave early, you should make plans to go ahead and pay those additional months or whatever you agreed to pay in the lease. Okay? It's pretty simple. You signed a contract, you got to pay. So let me continue. Consumer advocates say that shifting rent disputes from a courtroom to the credit reporting system gives landlords unchecked power. Rent cases historically account for more than half of all small claims disputes. But unlike in court, where both sides present evidence and argue their case, credit reporting allows landlords and debt collectors to act as both judge and jury. Landlords say that one of the few ways to penalize people who owe them is to report unpaid rent to credit bureaus such as Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Since 2017, bureaus haven't put unpaid rent judgments from small claims court on credit reports, said Alexandra Alvarado, Director of Marketing and Education at the American Apartment Owners Association. This makes it harder for landlords to screen unreliable tenants. But anyway, what do you think? Do you think that landlords should be able to do this? I do. I absolutely do, and I believe that, you know what, when it comes down to it, it's a debt just like anything else. And we should be entitled to make the same, use the same tactics in order to get our money paid back to us.